These are 5 times food companies caused a global health crisis. Number 5. The Peanut Corporation of America.
One of the things I'm going to do today is ask Mr. Parnell from the Peanut Corporation of America if he'd like to open this and sample some of the products that he didn't think were a problem in sending out for the rest of us to eat.
In 2009, a serious case of salmonella spread all across the United States and Canada. More than 700 people fell sick, 9 of whom lost their lives. After an investigation, the source of the contaminant was narrowed down to a peanut butter factory owned by the Peanut Corporation of America. And what they found was horrifying.
A rat was dry roasted in the peanuts.
One employee said that the peanut factory had incessant roach problems with dead rodents and rat poop near almost every production line. The factory also had a leaky roof and birds flying all over the joint. And unfortunately, other peanut factories were not much better. Almost every peanut-based food you could find in the nearest supermarket was sourced by this one company. This led to the largest food recall in North American history. But how did these products get past the quality control checks? Well, every time they tested their product and found traces of the bacteria, they would retest it over and over and over again till they found a negative result. This is an illegal practice in the food industry, and soon lawsuits followed. The CEO of the company, Stuart Parnell, who incredibly sat on the US Agricultural Department's Peanut Quality Board, was sentenced to 28 years in prison. And his brother faced 20 years behind bars. It's a family affair. As a result of all this, the Peanut Corporation of America filed for Chapter 7 bankruptcy that very same year. In one email regarding the roach problem, the CEO of the company replied, "Just ship it. I cannot afford to lose another customer." Today, I'm glad to welcome Stuart Parnell and his brother Michael Parnell into our unbridled capitalism ball of shame. Just behind the sacklers. It feels pretty nice when the justice system works in favor of the public, right? Number 4, the ultra-processed food industry.
What about that idea that exercise, calories in, calories out, that the obesity pandemic is partly due to inactivity? Well, the exercise is medicine phrase is actually trademarked. It's trademarked by the Coca-Cola company. And it was a partnership with the American College of Sports Medicine and Coca-Cola. It was a huge public health program.
On the 8th of April 1999, a secret meeting took place between the CEOs of the 8 largest US food companies, including Nestle, Coca-Cola, and Kraft Foods. The agenda of this meeting? To discuss the role of their products in the rising obesity rates all across America. One of the executive VPs from Kraft shares his findings with the room. The line in blue is the amount of high fructose corn syrup being consumed by an average American every year. It's the thing that makes Fruit Loops, Coke, and most ultra-processed foods so tasty. And the red line is the obesity rate in America. On hearing these findings, one executive stood up and shouted, "There's no way that we're going to mess around with the company's jewels," referring to their ultra-processed breakfast cereals. Today, 1 in 3 Americans are obese. And it's not just a US problem. This chart shows the increase in obesity rates globally. The redder the graph, the higher the rates. Countless independent studies have shown a link between ultra-processed foods and diabetes, depression, certain forms of cancer, dementia, and even infertility. But what exactly are ultra-processed foods? If you look at the back of the pack and find ingredients that sound gibberish, that's pretty much ultra-processed. These are foods that contain chemical additives that trick your brain into wanting them more and more. Everything from flavored yogurts, ice creams, junk foods, packaged bread, cereals, even most plant-based foods are ultra-processed. If I haven't drilled this point enough, here's an example that should show you how processed these foods are. In order to save $160 million in taxes, Procter & Gamble argued with the British courts that their Pringles chips aren't really potato chips at all, mainly because only 42% of the actual chip is made out of potatoes. Just let that sink in. Number 3, Tyson Foods.
Next time you wonder which came first, it's not the chicken or the egg, it's always been Tyson.
Our story begins with a mother, a helpless mother who gave birth to 2 beautiful daughters, one of whom falls sick moments after her birth. The doctors try everything to save her life, but no medicine seemed to work. The mother holds the daughter in her arms and sings a lullaby as the daughter falls asleep for the last time. This is the true story of Kirsty, who died of a bacterial infection so common that it's most likely present on the device you're holding right now. The only difference is that the bacteria that killed Kirsty was resistant to any antibiotic medicine ever known to man. These are known as antimicrobial resistant bacteria, or AMRs. Every year, more than 5 million people die directly or indirectly due to these drug-resistant bacteria. That's like losing the entire population of Ireland every year. These bacteria have found new and novel ways to fight your doctor's favorite antibiotics simply because they've been prescribed way too often. Up to half of the antibiotics given to humans are either ineffective or unnecessary. But even if you're anti-antibiotic and have chicken soup every time you catch that common cold, chances are that you're still pumping your body with a boatload of these drugs. Over 2/3 of the antibiotics produced every year are consumed by farm animals. That brings us to Tyson Foods, the second largest meat producers in the world, with products being sold in over 100 countries. In 2015, after mounting public pressure and government scrutiny, Tyson Foods stopped the use of antibiotics in its meat all across the United States. And then
Coronavirus.
There are fears a rapidly spreading virus has reached Australia.
the pandemic hit the world and brought the company's stocks to its knees. They shut down factories and cut a boatload of jobs. And after successfully weathering the COVID storm, they did what any honest, responsible, and reputable American company would do.
Well, the largest poultry producer in the U.S., Tyson Foods, plans to start giving its chickens antibiotics once again.
If you found the video useful thus far, do hit the like button. It's the only way the YouTube AI recognizes me. Share the video with someone you know and see how they react to it. And for more top 7s and documentaries on science, tech, and research, make sure to subscribe and hit the bell icon. Number 2. The Chinese melamine scandal.
China.
China. I love them. China. 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 I have to have my China.
If you had to guess, what's the most smuggled product in China? Is it heroin? Is it weed? Gold? People? It is milk powder. Let me explain. In 2008, China was rocked by one of the largest food scandals in modern history. Back then, China had the largest population in the world, with over 16 million babies born every year. More importantly, breastfeeding in China is kind of less popular. It's a cultural thing. This meant that the milk and dairy industry was a hugely profitable business. And so, to increase profits, these dairy companies started diluting their milk with water and a chemical called melamine. Melamine is a toxin that has a very high concentration of proteins. This made the tainted milk virtually undetectable during testing and was in fact labeled as high quality products for kids. But suddenly, swaths of babies started showing up at hospitals with renal failure and kidney stones. More than 300,000 babies fell ill during this period. The CEOs of the 2 largest dairy companies were sentenced to life imprisonment with $160 million in compensation to the affected parents. The consumer confidence in the local dairy industry was completely shattered. It's estimated that the milk powder smuggling business is worth over $150 million. Why am I a YouTuber? Number 1. McMarketing to Kids.
Oh, Sunday, it's me.
Oh, sorry, Ronald.
In a recent study, rats were given junk food for 2 weeks straight and then switched back to their normal foods. These rats chose to starve for 14 days before even coming close to their normal food. Today, there are kids that can't bear the sight or smell of vegetables and fruits.
Come here, baby. It's okay.
And get this, we will be the first generation ever to have a lower life expectancy than our parents. But we all know that junk food isn't healthy for us. So how did these large companies get us hooked onto these chemical concoctions?
Good morning, marketers.
Specifically, marketing to kids. And there's no better example of this than the real crown prince of evil himself, McDonald's. In 1979, McDonald's introduced the Happy Meal, a bright red box with a burger, some fries, a sugary drink, and most importantly, that very elusive toy. But the Happy Meal is just the tip of the iceberg. Through a program called Mc Teachers Nights, teachers from schools would talk about the benefits of a good old McChicken. And in return, schools would get a hefty kickback for every McDonald's meal sold. And it doesn't stop there. They sponsored free breakfast and coupon books for students, paid American parents to write blogs. They even tried to advertise on report card envelopes that would have given students free Happy Meals for getting good grades. And there's a reason why McDonald's goes to these extreme lengths. A young child's brain starts off with a huge number of neurons, the thing that constitutes memory. But as kids grow, the number of neurons are fine-tuned to the things that are most important to their lives. Once you've shaped a kid's brain to be hooked onto your product, you pretty much created a lifetime customer. At its peak, McDonald's made over $3 billion every year from Happy Meal sales alone. Its stock has grown 300 times since the first Happy Meal was sold. During that same time, obesity has taken over tobacco as the #1 cause of early deaths all across the globe. Countless other companies have used these same tricks to hook an entire generation into addictions and overconsumption. I've covered some of these examples in the 7 CEOs who poisoned the world for profit. Or if you want a bit of sciencey stuff, check out the 5 Nobel Prize winners who almost ended the world. I'll see you there.